Jackie, and today we are going to do some fall harvest smoothies. I love smoothies. I make them all the time. The awesome thing about smoothies is the possibilities are limitless. So I'm going to show you just some different ideas, but I hope you guys will have fun with this and experiment and try to figure out the combination that works best for you. One of the things that we do a lot here at the farm for the children's programs that we offer is we like to do smoothie hunts. I thought this might be fun. You could try it with your children, or maybe if you're going to be hosting a birthday party or you have neighborhood kids that like to come and hang out at your house. This is something that's really fun. So I just have put together some pictures of different plants that the children will find outside in the garden. We've got some parsley, some beet greens. So all we do is we invite the children to go on a smoothie hunt. They're usually very excited to do that, and they each choose a picture that they want to be in charge of, and then we go and explore the garden and look for all of these things. And it's a lot of fun for the children to be looking at their special card and then examining the plants, and without realizing it, they're building what we call literacy of the land. So learning to recognize plants by their leaf structure, by their stems, by their color, by the feel of their leaves, by the smell, by the taste, if it's safe to be putting them in your mouth. So this is something that's a lot of fun. I've done this a lot over the years, and the children always really like it. We also do it with adults when we run training programs here. So green smoothies are one of my favorite. So based on this, I went outside and grabbed some, I have some beet greens here. So I grabbed some basil, which is nice in smoothies. I have some Swiss chard, a couple of different types of kale. This is the dino kale that the kids like because they really like dinosaurs. And we have the Russian red kale, and I also grabbed some parsley. Parsley is really nice in smoothies. It gives it sort of a nice fresh taste. So basically whatever you have in your garden. Things like cucumbers, they don't have a strong smell. You can throw them in there, and usually the children won't even notice. So what I thought we would do today is two different types of smoothies. So the first one is a fruit smoothie. And this one, if you're trying to introduce your children to greens and trying to get them excited about eating vegetables and greens, maybe that's not their favorite thing right now, I would recommend the fruit smoothies because the fruit, they tend to be a little bit sweeter, and because of that, they sort of hide the taste of the greens. As you go along, what I would recommend in the beginning, if your children if they're not fans of vegetables and greens, I would just add a little bit of greens and a lot of juice. And then as you go along, maybe start adding a little bit more and a little bit more greens, a little bit less juice. You're going to see today I grabbed cranberry juice. I also really like using orange juice. Orange juice and bananas and pineapples is so good. For me, whenever I add the juice, I also add some water. I water it down. Again, you can decide what's going to work for your children and your family. If your kids are really craving sweet, then don't water it down too much, but maybe the more you do this, the more you can add some water. It cuts the sweetness and makes it a little more healthy. So what I am going to do is take my kale. Most kale, there's always this middle stem part, and it's kind of tough and fibrous. I would recommend taking that out. You don't have to, obviously, but I usually take the center out. So I'm just going to throw some kale in here. Again, I'm not really measuring anything. You'll just get a feel for how much is enough and how much is too much. So some more kale. I'm gonna throw in some of the parsley that I grabbed. I'm gonna throw in this lovely sprig of basil. What else do I have here? We have some of our Swiss chard. I'm gonna throw that in. And a beet green. Can't remember if I did that. So when you look at this right now, it looks like it is jam-packed full of greens, but it's really light and fluffy. So I'm going to show you, if we were to dehydrate this, all of these greens would probably dehydrate down to like a little tiny circle of powder. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of water. So I'm just going to blend this. And I wanted to do that first to show you, even though this entire thing was filled with greens, it blended down to this much. And that's because that's how much water I added. If I had only added half the amount of water, it would have, the point is it looks like a lot of greens, but it's really not. So don't be afraid to put some extra leaves in there. And then what I'm going to do, for all of my smoothies, I add bananas. So what I typically do is go to the grocery store, I buy bananas in bulk, I bring them home, I peel them, I break them in half, or I break them in threes, depending on how big the banana is, and then I freeze them on cookie sheets. Once they're frozen, I put them in a Ziploc. And then it's nice and quick. Every morning when I get up, I just grab 2 or 3 chunks of banana that's ready to go. Your bananas don't need to be frozen. So if you're doing this with us at home today and you went to the grocery store and bought bananas, I'm sure they're not frozen. That totally doesn't matter. If you like that cold feeling, you can choose to freeze them. The other thing that I'm going to add into my smoothie is some pineapple chunks. Again, I usually buy pineapples at the grocery store, cut them up, then cut them into chunks, put them on a cookie sheet in the freezer, freeze them. Once they're frozen, I put them in the Ziploc bag. If you cut them up, this might be obvious, but it might not. If you cut them up and put them in a Ziploc bag before they're frozen, they end up squishing all together and then they're really hard to break apart. So spread them out on a cookie sheet, freeze them first, and then dump them in the bag, and they're really easy to work with. So I'm gonna grab like 4 or 5 chunks of pineapple here, throw those in. The other fruit that I'm choosing to work with tonight is some blueberries. So I'm just going to add some blueberries. So it doesn't matter what kind of fruit you use. It doesn't matter what kind of juice you use. Play around with lots of different combinations and try new things. I'm going to put some cranberry juice in today. So I'm gonna pour about that much juice, and I'm going to add the same amount of water, just so that that it's not too sweet. If your kids like super sweet, you might want to consider adding a little bit of honey or maple syrup, but that's all there is to it. So I ended up blending the greens first just to show you how they go from being huge to very small. When I do this regularly, I just throw everything into the blender and then blend it all at once. So we are going to blend this. And that's all there is to it. So this is what it looks like. It's a nice purple color. This is the consistency. You can just give it a little taste. Oh, it's so good. So this is great for me, but if I were to drink it and felt like it was a little too runny, just throw in another banana. If it's a little bit too sweet, throw in some more water. If it's not sweet enough, throw in some more juice. So I'm purposely not showing you specific ratios because I want you to play around with them and find out what combination works best for you. So that's the fruit smoothie. The other one I want to show you tonight was how to make a milk smoothie. So we can make milk smoothies out of nuts or out of seeds. And it's super simple. I used to do it the really complicated way. I found a video online on how to make your own almond milk, and I used to put them in almonds in boiling water. Then you'd let them cool. Then I used to peel all of the skins off of the almonds. Then I'd soak them in water. Then I'd blend them, and then it said to pour it through cheesecloth and squeeze it out, and then all the pulp from the almonds is in the cheesecloth and the milk runs through. Now all I do is I get up in the morning, I grab a handful of nuts, I throw them in the blender, I put some water in, and I blend it up. You can do that with nuts, you can do it with seeds. So if you go to different health food stores or the grocery stores now, you'll see how they will sell containers of almond milk, cashew milk. You can make milk out of any kind of nut. It's less common to see sesame seed milk or pumpkin seed milk, but people do that all the time too. So you can play around with it and put a combination of them in. What I tend to do is I buy whatever kind of nuts are on sale. And if walnuts are on sale, then I'm going to have walnut smoothies for the next week and a half to 2 weeks. And then the next, I purposely try to switch it around so that you're getting a variety, and every time you're using different seeds or nuts, you're giving your body different nutrients, and that's pretty important. So let's make a milk smoothie together. Okay, so to make a milk smoothie, I have here in a jar, I have some walnuts. In another jar, I have some hazelnuts. In here, I have some cashews. So I'm going to, for tonight, I'm just going to use some of these cashews. So I'm just going to kind of fill the bottom of my blender. Again, you're just going to experiment. So it's kind of hard to see. Just kind of filled the bottom. Then I'm going to add some water. Do this at home, blend it up, and then take a little sip. And if it feels like it's too bland and it's just kind of tastes like white water, then add some more nuts. And then you can just keep playing it around with it that way, because your blender might be a different size than mine. So I've added some nuts, I'm adding some water, and then I'm just going to blend it up. With this one, I recommend blending the nuts and water first, because if I were to throw in the frozen bananas, the spinach, some greens, some blueberries, and then blend it up, the nuts don't blend as well, so you end up drinking it and it's a little bit chunky. If you like chunky, then that's a great way to do it. But if you want your milk to be kind of smooth and creamy, do the nuts first. The other thing, as I mentioned, is adding some dates to make it sweet. So I have a little container here with some dates. I'm just going to throw those in. If any of you have kids that struggle with constipation, that's a reality for a lot of parents. Adding in 1 or 2 prunes really helps with that, and you can't even taste it. If anything, it adds a tiny bit of sweetness, but it really helps if you're in a situation like that. So if you're going to add dates or prunes, add them in right now. So I have water, nuts, and dates. Or maybe at your house you went for seeds. So right now you're gonna have water, seeds, and you're just going to put the lid on, blend this, and blend it as long as it takes to get a nice smooth consistency. Okay, and this is what it looks like. It looks like milk. So following my recommendation, pull it off the blender, especially when you're first starting out. Just take a little tiny bit, give it a taste. That's perfect for me. But again, if you think it's too bland, add more nuts. So now we have our base of milk. I'm going to add my bananas. If I had avocado, that's another option. So bananas and avocado are the ingredients that makes a smoothie really smooth and creamy. Creamy is the word I was looking for. So I'm going to throw in 2 bananas. And then what I did this past summer, end of June, beginning of July, I had all of this spinach that needed to get harvested. There was no way I was gonna eat it all. So what I did is I just picked it all, I threw it in the freezer on some cookie sheets and froze it, and then put it in a Ziploc bag and just crunched it up like this. And it breaks down into tiny little pieces. And it is mid-September right now, and I have had this spinach. I've been eating it since, well, for all summer. So this is what it looks like, little tiny green shards of goodness. So I have my bananas. I'm gonna just throw in some spinach. From the first smoothie, I have some leftover kale, so I'll probably throw that in. A couple of, another thing of beet greens here. I have some leftover parsley that didn't make it into the first one. So whatever greens you have, you can throw those in. You can also throw in some frozen fruit for this one as well. So basically whatever you have, and then my secret ingredient is cocoa powder. Some people will add a little bit of vanilla extract if you like that vanilla taste. That's a really nice option. So I'm just gonna add like a little heaping teaspoon of cacao or cocoa, and that's it. So again, nuts, dates if you want, prunes if you want, and water. Blend that up into a milk, and then I've added my bananas, some greens, and I did some frozen spinach. You can add in berries, you can add in mangoes, pineapples, whatever you want. And we're going to do the same thing. Blend it up. And this is our milk smoothie. So mine is brown because of the cocoa, but you can kind of see the consistency. Again, if you want it thicker, almost like a milkshake, add another banana and you'll be amazed at how thick it gets. Oh, it's so good. So I hope that was helpful. And I hope you have fun playing around with this with your family. Try lots of different ingredients. Try lots of different methods, different measurements. Just play around with it and find out what works for you. And I hope you enjoy your smoothie making. Bye for now.